Welcome to the Biometric Update Podcast. I'm Joel McConvey. Today, we're taking a trip to Abidjan to hit the conference floor at the recent ID4Africa 2026 AGM. You'll hear Biometric Update Managing Editor Chris Burt, who made the trip to Côte d'Ivoire, talk to representatives from Cognitec, Thales, Iris ID, and Regula about the current state of the booming African identity ecosystem.
Okay, Chris Burt from Biometric Update here with Mikhail from Cognitec. How are you today, Mikhail?
I'm very good today.
Excellent. Thank you for taking a few minutes. Maybe you could just tell me a little bit about what has been catching the interest of visitors to your booth this year, and maybe what's different from Cognitec's experience at past ID4Africa in terms of customer interest.
Yeah, as for the difference, we're showing the complete set of products we have through flyers, etc. But the difference this year, I would say, is that we have a device, the entry-exit device, the German device, the border device that we're showing here, which you can interact with and you can play with and you can test it out. And this is new for us in ID4Africa, and that's of course creates interest. It's a nice device, and people can actually test it as well. In addition, we're actually showcasing a small application on the tablet which does age estimation, which is a bit of fun for people. So we're playing a little bit with that as well. But we have seen commercial interest in this as well, border and especially in Africa where maybe the ID management they don't have records maybe of everyone, and this can aid a little bit of assessing age of people, etc.
Okay, so in that case, it would be for like ensuring children are not being presented as adults.
There are various use cases, and the interesting part with this is the people we interact with, we can see how they're thinking about, how can I use this?
Right.
Obviously, in Europe, when we've developed this technology, it's for who can buy alcohol, who can come into the club, etc., etc. But we've had interest also in Europe from at the border for immigration, refugees. We treat people differently if they're adults or kids, and you need cost-effective, cheap ways, fast ways of at least doing a rough estimation of this, so you can aid those kind of processes as well. And then, of course, we have the whole online world, which will be interesting as well.
Yeah, and we know that there's a little bit of movement on the continent in that area as well. So
this is going to take a little while, I think. But there are a lot of tests going on, and we're happy we're providing the algorithm. The actual application for this could be different applications, right? But we're providing the algorithm. The algorithm has been tested by NIST. It's very, very accurate compared to at least a few years ago. Yeah. So that's a bit of fun as well.
Sure. And I'm looking forward to getting a demo in a minute here. But it's an interesting example of how more generally, the use cases seem to be expanding, and the treatment of identity and identity-related characteristics are kind of expanding in the African market. Is that you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, indeed. And we've gone away from the traditional. This is a piece of paper. This is my document, and that still, of course, exists. But I find the interesting part with Africa is that they might not be stuck in the legacy systems that we are in other parts of the world, and they can go straight to let's do mobile, let's do this clever from the start almost, right?
Absolutely.
They don't have to scan all the old documents, etc., like we do sometimes in Europe.
Absolutely. So, and speaking of going straight to top-notch systems, best breed. Obviously, I personally am familiar with the Cognitec border control system that's standing right in front of me. But for those who aren't here, can't see it, maybe aren't as familiar, can you maybe just give me a couple of examples of major airports that are using the Cognitec technology now?
So we're using this, the new device that we have developed has so far been introduced in all the borders in Germany, all the borders in Latvia. We've integrated into these automated border control, the e-gates, and delivered that also to Romania, to Italy, and through other partners a little bit around the world. But it's primarily in Europe, and the biggest installation would be would be Germany with about 2,000 devices.
Right. Pending what the outcomes of this show and expansion.
Yeah, no, of course. We see interest potentially originally developed for the entry-exit system in Europe. We see interest from around the world. People want to capture people's biometric at the border. They want to do it without building huge queues. Sure. This is a very quick device that automatically adjusts to the height and takes an OK and ICAO-compliant image then very quickly. So we're actually rolling this out in Australia now as well, on all the borders in Australia,
very good.
Which is obviously not part of the entry-exit Schengen system. So we can see interest in other parts of the world for this kind of...
Well, and if I can spring a question on you that is not really germane to ID4Africa, but we were writing about a lot in Biometric Update, is obviously the EES system is having its, let's say, birthing pains right now. Yeah. And I just wondered, from your perspective as one of the main technology providers in the space for the actual facial biometrics, what do you see as maybe, is there a particular shift or change that needs to happen to allow that system to really take hold the way that is hoped for over the course of this year?
I think it's not going to be a silver bullet. I don't think it's going to be a fix it everything. I think there are going to be mobile pre-enrollments. There are going to be things you can do from home to speed this up. I think there will be a need for quicker devices like our device. That's one piece of the puzzle. We're not going to solve the whole puzzle. I think what I've seen personally when I travel within Europe, there's a little bit of maybe remodification of the actual facilities. People will be queuing up a little bit more, and not every airport is yet, or port is yet set up for this. So where should the people stand, and how should they know where to go? So I think it's mobile devices. Can you do something from home? Quick devices at the border, and then the process. The process is something that will come with time, I'm sure.
Okay, well, you see the complexity of the challenge, though, with those different elements. That's great. Well, thank you very much, Mikhail. This has been very interesting.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Chris Burt from Biometric Update here with Alain from Thales.
Yes.
How are you today?
I'm fine, and you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you, and thank you doubly for taking the time to speak and answer a couple of quick questions.
Okay, my pleasure.
So I was wondering, since Thales has a long history with ID4Africa and in the African market, and also provides many different types of technologies and solutions for this market, given all the discussion that has been happening at this event about different use cases and systems moving from enrollments to more holistic sustainability and so on, what has been attractive to potential customers? What are people interested in at the booth this year, and is it different from years past?
Indeed, the understanding we have this year is that the governments of Africa are more and more interested in, let's say, the holistic approach of the identity and identification solutions. And that's one point where Thales is kind of relevant, because we have a end-to-end solution that we are able to provide to the customers, from enrollment to, let's say, identity management to ID document issuance. So we cover the full scope of the identity life cycle and process. And that's what's interesting to our customers and prospects here in ID4Africa, with a particular focus from our side on the cybersecurity aspect of the identity also, where we invest a lot, and we are keen to, let's say, showcase our capacities to support the governments in cyber securing the data and the systems all along.
Oh, very good. And I guess the cybersecurity message must resonate with governments.
Yeah, definitely.
Always an important topic, but it seems especially that's been an increased focus as the discussion turns to the more, as you say, end-to-end kind of considerations.
Yeah, definitely. Given also the, let's say, the new technologies like AI and the new risk of quantum computing, so it's really a main key topic for the customer, key concern for the governments of Africa.
Sure.
So.
Very good. And another thing that's been they were just discussing on the other side in the plenary was the role of digital wallets.
Okay.
And so, I mean, you've got some digital wallet materials here that you're presenting to potential customers, and I was wondering how are those discussions going? How interested are potential customers, and is their interest more like, we want to do this today, or is it more like this is something we need to work on for the future?
Yeah, in Africa in particular, we feel that the governments are really interested in the possibility to do this leapfrog to the digital identity. There's a strong feeling that the governments are ready in the same way they did when they moved to mobile phones at the time. We feel the same movement for the identity ecosystem and the willingness for the governments to leapfrog to digital identity, to digital wallets, and it's more and more important to them. So we are one of the main actors in this type of solutions also.
For sure.
So we try and, let's say, address their needs in terms of digital identity, digital wallet, definitely. Yeah.
Perfect.
So we feel that in Africa they might adopt this type of new technologies and new ways of, let's say, proving identity or verifying or even sometimes enrolling identity via digital solutions, digital wallets, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, well, so final question then. I mean, we're coming back to enrollment. We have a couple of times, and do you notice a change in enrollment interest? Are many of the countries at a point where they're kind of through their enrollment challenges, and then there's only certain remaining potential customers, or are most of the governments still concerned, because very few countries really are at 100%, right? So, so I was wondering about the balance, is whether the interest is confined mostly to those that are starting out, or are most governments still keen to upgrade their enrollment technology?
Yeah, in Africa, it will depend on let's say, the sub-regions. For instance, in Maghreb, they are more advanced. Also in South Africa, they are more advanced. South and East Africa. But in West and Central Africa, there are still a lot of progress to make because the main issue they have is the civil registration issue that is, let's say, impacting the rest of the identification process. So they are still, let's say, catching up in terms of enrollment. And for us at Thales, we try and, let's say, partner with the governments depending on their interest. For instance, when they need to enroll for elections or when they need to enroll for ID documents, we try and, let's say, accompany them depending on their main focus of the moment. To help them build a national registry and let's say, cover this enrollment topic that is still, let's say, not well covered so far.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. And that makes plain how the end-to-end portfolio could benefit those kinds of countries as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Very good. Well, Alain, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Chris Burt here at ID4Africa, and I'm here with Mohammed from Iris ID. So thank you very much for taking a few minutes to speak with me today, Mohammed. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Not at all. So, first question I wanted to ask you is just about what has drawn the interest of visitors to the booth over the first few days here at ID4Africa 2026?
Majority of the people are still in a learning phase, what Iris can do for them and what non-contact biometrics can do for them. But what we have seen over the years, we have been participating in ID4Africa from the inception of the program,
right.
of this conference, one of the few ones,
yep.
And few who have learned that non-contact biometrics is a key in developing Africa. Okay,
right.
And they have very, very interesting questions because now they have gone beyond, hey, I want to capture and I want something, a very simple device. They are looking at how can I provide immigration services, how I can make it easy for my citizens to be able to enter the countries. And we have examples for that now. So when you arrived here, because you came on an e-visa, so you had to go through the process for e-visa.
I did, yes.
And you see they have used 2 biometrics there.
Right, yep.
But if you are a citizen, or you are a permanent resident, they provide you a service which one of our partners, Secure Report, is handling. It's the kiosk with an iris camera, and that's provided by Iris ID. So if you're a citizen, you will be able to use your iris to get into the country without stopping at the immigration desk.
I was going to say, I bet those lines were shorter.
Much shorter. Our line was, I went through the same process that you went through, and to get our e-visa processed, it took us a while.
Sure.
But I saw the same people came off my flight, they just walked up to the kiosk, put their passport down, look into the camera, and there they go.
Use their iris for authentication.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically the point here is that from the Western side, we think that they are not looking at the advanced application. They are very much looking at the advanced application. They are very much looking how can they have more services for their citizens that biometric can offer, because we all know there is a documentation issue here for birth certificates, etc. Mm-hmm. So from a civil registry perspective, it makes a lot of sense for them to have all 3 modalities available for their citizens. And the other part that I was kind of surprised yesterday, I heard a few of the customers, they came by and they said, I know we have doing a civil registry, but I'm from the agriculture and mining area. They were from different countries. I like to see how a non-contact biometric can help me authenticate the people who are going into those mines. So they were talking about mineral mines and other sort of things. And we went through that. Hey, it's very easy. We have a lot of mining experience in Asia, in Africa, and other places. So the bottom line is that people are looking for different applications and solutions to be able to use the frictionless non-contact biometrics to authenticate their employees, their citizens, etc.
That's a really great reflection of some of the themes that have been talked about in the plenary sessions and the workshops about taking registration or enrollment and going to that next level of actually delivering services and using biometrics or credentials for authentication to actually improve people's daily lives and taking that next step. So I feel like that kind of you've given a great segue to for me to ask you about those specific devices. I mean, you referred to the many years that Iris ID has been participating in ID4Africa. So can you maybe go a little more into what the devices were that you brought maybe a decade ago compared to the newest Iris ID hardware?
A good question, because a few years back the whole conversation was, I want a device. Mm-hmm. Okay, the customer walk in, I want a device. Okay, but I think there is a maturity of conversation now,
right.
And that mature conversation is, I want a solution. Okay, I want to know how is it going to solve my problem, and that is the conversation that we want to have. Okay, because if it's a device only issue, then you can have lots of places you can buy a device. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but if you really want to have a solutions issue, which provide you quality of collection, provides you the security of collection, it has certifications available, it then is a solutions conversation. So, and the other thing, I was pretty impressed with some local integration houses. One of them is Margin ID, Margin Group, you know, Margin ID. I was having a talk with their CEO yesterday. They are partners with us, and he hit it on the nail on the head. He said, people from the solutions companies coming, or application companies coming from the West, must understand we have regional, local, and issues that need to be addressed locally.
Right,
you know?
sure.
And part of our strategy also is we want to look for local integrators who understand the cultural and regional issues, that they can take our solution and make them better and teach us what will make their life or their citizens' life simple.
Actually suit the needs of the customer.
Exactly. Rather than shoving what we think is right. No, we want to learn.
Something that worked far away.
Right.
In a different context.
Exactly. And then, instead of thinking global, we think global from lots of perspectives, but we need to start thinking from a solution perspective local.
Right.
And that will allow us to really have a great adoption of the technology. And we're seeing that. So, for example, since we started this journey with ID4Africa a few years back, I even forget what year it was when we first attended them. Since then, we have national ID initiatives in Ghana, national ID initiatives in Morocco, national ID initiatives in Rwanda, and few other countries, and they're all using non-contact biometric, and they have taken a journey leaps and bounds and said, no, we don't want to just do one modality of biometrics with fingerprint, which is so common and popular in most applications.
Absolutely.
We want to do, while we're going to collect all three. Because we want to use these maybe for healthcare, maybe for employment verification, maybe for financial transactions. So depending on what the application is going to be, they will be able to use a particular modality.
That's really interesting. So you're suggesting that that level of foresight is really coming to bear, where they're thinking maybe, if we do this registration that's complete with all three modalities, then, however many use cases we have now, we're going to have a lot more down the line, and that's where we may find that iris is the only one that fits the bill.
Right. Let me give you an example. So you and I live in a Western Hemisphere.
Yep.
We, when we were growing up, what did we have? We had a copper wire phone.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
They never had that telecommunication infrastructure here. Guess what? They are far more advanced in mobile communication than some of us. Okay.
Interesting. So you're drawing an analogy there between the leapfrog to mobile and the leapfrog, sort of a leapfrog, if you will, to iris.
Into identity application, not just iris, in the identity application.
Identity more broadly. Okay.
We are not going to a bank and authenticating ourselves, a bank in New Jersey, with a biometric. We are still authenticating with our driver's license, and the guy is doing it manually, okay?
Yep.
And I don't know if that little token that I'm offering as a driver's license is real or not.
Apparently there's this thing called AI that makes that a little bit risky. So.
Exactly. So what these guys are doing now, they're thinking far ahead of us and saying, you know what, I'm going to use the biometrics for those financial authentications. I'm going to use the biometrics to make it easy for them to cross the borders. And these are critical applications. So I believe that, their use of biometrics is far out in the future than we initially thought.
Sure. Well, that's very encouraging and really interesting to hear about the way that the technology provision aspect is dovetailing with the sort of policy aspect that's being talked about in the other building as well. So that's
exactly. And then we need to understand those policies need to be tailor fit for the region.
Yes.
And each country individually, depending what their needs are. And then we are ready. And from a biometric perspective, all the privacy, security, and all those enablements that we are trying to make to make sure that they can be adapted to whatever each country come up with for their policies, privacy policies.
That's excellent. Well, thank you very much
you're welcome.
for sharing your insights. I really appreciate it, Mohammed. Always a pleasure.
All right, great. Nice. Good to see you. Yeah.
Chris Burt here at ID4Africa's 2026 AGM with Yuri from Regula. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for hosting us. It's a pleasure. Yes, my name is Yuri. I'm the head of business development for digital identity verification products at Regula. So here at ID4Africa, one of the most important exhibitions for us in the African continent. And Africa is, an emerging market. It's growing all the time. So for us, it's quite crucial to be here for the 6th or 7th time. So we're not missing any of them. Yeah, it's a fantastic spot. So here we're basically showing people our newest developments in hardware and software solutions, like passport readers, some forensics investigation tools, digital spectral comparators, which are quite popular here because, well, that's a pretty obvious fact. In Africa, we have the problems with the fraudulent documents, and we need to give them a very good and very good tools to investigate for the safer Africa, for the safer world. As for the software part, we are presenting here our best and newest product, the identification platform. So basically, if you're familiar with the SaaS products, so we give you the capabilities to host and create the identity verification platform on your premises. So you can have all the necessary integration with IML, PAP services, geo-tracking, device ID checking, and so on, also OTPs, but fully on your premises. So you're not sharing the personal details anywhere abroad, which is quite crucial because most of the African countries, they already understand that sharing the personal details somewhere, might come to the leaks. And leaks of identity, it comes with a lot of fraud.
They've been talking about on the other side, and the compliance and trust.
Yes, so I believe that this is a modern day response to what the market needs. There are a lot of projects where you just can't come with a SaaS. The governmental clouds, they're not allowing you to connect somewhere externally. This is why we developed this product. And frankly, this is amazing. So if you had a chance for us somewhere to demonstrate it, it would be a great pleasure.
Absolutely. I'm look forward to learning more about that platform, and we covered the launch on Biometric Update, of course. So a quick question for you, just about the use cases that your prospective customers and existing customers here are talking to you about. On the other side, in the plenary sessions and workshops, they've been talking a lot about maturing their ecosystems, right, and taking a more holistic view of digital identity and identity verification. So, what are the main use cases that your customers are talking to you about?
Well, actually, that's quite an interesting question because we face the situations with the governments here in Africa issuing your identity documents like passports, identity cards, driver licenses, but not having a centralized database of the documents that are there issued. So this is why our solution is a response. It's like a reverse engineering, let's say. So they are trying to collect the data using telecom operators and banks to collect these documents from people, digitalize them, and have these databases, because it's also about the safety, right? You're coming to the church, you're having a birth certificate from it, and this is your proof of identity. Then you can create whatever you want. So we need to have a biometric profile of a person, bind with his documents, bind with probably his smartphone, because the smartphone is your nowadays key to life, right? For everything, for banking, for everything. So this is why we're giving this response. Plus to that, about interesting use cases, here in Africa we face the situation, especially with the banks and credit bureaus, they are trying to get more customers, and the customers sometimes are in rural areas with a low or no internet coverage. So we are ready to give, in addition to the platform where people could onboard themselves, special solutions for the bank or bureau employees that they can go to the rural areas, capture the documents, capture the biometrics, return back to the city, connect to the internet, the data uploads to the platform, and create the profile for the person. So next they can work whatever the way they prefer, but first collecting the data in a secure and easy way is crucial here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Yuri, thank you very much for taking the
You're very
time.
welcome. Yes, it would be a pleasure to meet you again. Cheers.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Mikhail, Alain, Mohammed, and Yuri for taking the time to share their thoughts. Thanks to ID4Africa for hosting the BU team on site at the AGM. And thanks to you, our listeners. For all the latest news on digital ID in Africa and everywhere else, be sure to visit www.biometricupdate.com.